All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of African fintech.
Okay.
And we've got some really fascinating excerpts here from Engineering News and a global fintech report.
Right.
And, our mission today is to really unpack how the pandemic basically just slammed on the fast forward button for African fintech.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see how that played out.
Yeah. And where it's headed next.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I was just going to say, what's really striking is that even before 2020, Africa was already kind of on the cusp of this fintech boom.
Right. The foundation was there.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's just waiting for that catalyst.
And then, bam, pandemic.
Right.
The Engineering News article calls it remarkable growth.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like remarkable might be underselling it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because imagine this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in a strict lockdown.
Right.
Your local bank branch, it's closed indefinitely. For millions of people across Africa, fintech wasn't just convenient.
Right.
It was the only option
Totally.
to access their money,
to
send funds to family, to keep their businesses afloat.
It's like the whole financial system just went digital overnight almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where you see the incredible impact of mobile money.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Mobile money was huge.
Because nearly half of Africa's population, we're talking almost 700 million people.
Yeah, a huge number of people.
Don't have a traditional bank account.
Right.
So mobile money, digital payments, these weren't just trendy tech things.
Right.
They became lifelines.
Exactly.
For this huge chunk of the population.
Yeah, they were essential.
It's like skipping a whole chapter in the financial textbook.
Right.
And going straight to the future.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because investors are paying attention.
Right.
Because we're talking, almost $1 billion. Yeah, $960 million.
$960 million to be exact.
In a single year.
Yeah.
Pumped into African fintech startups.
Which is incredible when you consider that the global investment scene was a little shaky.
Yeah, a little bit shaky.
To say the least, last year.
Yeah, and even with that, that much money flowing in.
And it's not even just the amount of money, it's where it's going.
Okay.
So you've got these seed rounds, right?
Yeah.
Which are those early stage investments in a company's life cycle.
Okay.
Those are now pulling in between $3 and $10 million.
Wow.
Which is a huge jump.
Okay.
And it tells you that investors see these companies as more than just a flash in the pan.
Right.
They're betting on the long game here.
They're in it for the long haul.
They're in it for the long haul.
Now, a lot of this action seems to be centered in South Africa, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. South Africa is definitely a hub
Yeah.
for fintech innovation right now.
Why? Well, they've got a few things going for them.
Okay.
They've got a strong tech infrastructure already in place, a good environment for businesses to thrive.
Okay.
And even with global venture capital, kind of slowing down a little bit.
Right.
Their fintech scene is still going strong.
It's still chugging along.
It's still chugging along.
And it's not just hype either.
Right.
Because Engineering News was highlighting some recent investments in companies like Peach Payments and Stitch.
Interesting.
Which is proof that investors are putting their money where their mouth is.
Absolutely. They're not just talking about it.
Yeah.
They're
backing it up.
They're backing it up.
But it's not all about payments in Africa, right?
Right.
That's just kind of the first act.
It's the foundation.
What happens when you build on that foundation?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
So while payments are a huge part of the African fintech landscape, we're also seeing major growth in things like lending platforms, microinsurance, and all these other financial services that were previously inaccessible to a huge portion of the population.
So you're saying it's not just about convenience, it's about impact.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep going with that.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's about giving people access to financial tools that can change their lives.
Exactly. And that's what makes the future of African fintech so exciting. Because
it's like the old system was built on exclusion.
Right.
And fintech is like, nope, we're changing the rules.
Yeah, we're rewriting the rules of the game.
Creating a financial system that actually works for everyone.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And what's interesting is this ties into something that the Global Fintech Report kind of touches on.
Okay.
Which is this idea that fintech has the potential to completely revolutionize our relationship with financial services. Everywhere, not just in Africa.
Right.
Globally.
So instead of having these separate silos.
Yes, exactly.
Banking over here, insurance over there, loans somewhere else.
Right.
it all just becomes seamless.
All integrated.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
But this whole global shift towards like integrated finance, it makes you wonder about the traditional players. What happens to the big banks?
Yeah, what happens to the incumbents?
When the rules of the game are being rewritten.
Well, the global article actually touches on this.
Okay.
And it basically highlights how traditional financial institutions are having to adapt.
Right.
Or risk being left behind.
It's like adapt or die.
Yeah, pretty much.
So are they adapting?
Well, we're seeing a wave of mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
Where these larger companies are basically gobbling up smaller fintech startups.
So they're trying to like buy their way into the future.
In a way.
Instead of inventing it themselves.
It's like they're trying to acquire innovation rather than build it from scratch.
Which kind of speaks volumes about the value that fintech brings to the table.
It does.
They're not just buying technology, they're buying agility, customer-centric thinking.
Yeah, they're buying a different mindset.
Fresh perspectives.
Yes.
And a lot of these startups have that in spades.
They do. They're nimble, they're innovative.
Right.
They're really focused on the customer experience.
It's like a dance between disruption and adaptation.
It is a delicate dance.
Which makes me wonder, what are the regulators thinking with all this?
That's a great question.
Because trying to balance innovation with consumer protection, it's got to be tricky.
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you want to foster this growth.
Right.
You want to encourage this like wave of disruption.
Right.
But on the other hand,
you got to protect people.
You have to protect consumers.
Yeah.
And make sure these new technologies are being used responsibly. The article actually points out how governments all over the world are really grappling with this need for updated regulation.
Especially with concerns around cybersecurity,
Oh, yeah.
data privacy.
Huge.
Which are a big deal with any kind of tech.
Right.
But especially when you're talking about people's finances.
Yeah, the stakes are higher when it's your money on the line.
So how do we build trust then?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
It's interesting because the article kind of argues that trust is paramount in this whole fintech space.
Okay.
Like without trust, the whole system crumbles.
Because if people don't feel like their money is safe and secure, why would they use it?
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling safe.
Right.
It's about knowing that your data is being handled responsibly.
So it's more than just like a gut feeling.
It's got to be based on something real.
Yeah.
It's got to be based on transparency, accountability, ethical behavior from these companies.
So it's not just about like...
It's not enough to just say, trust us.
Right.
You have to actually demonstrate it.
And how do you demonstrate that?
Well, it's about taking concrete actions.
Okay.
Right. Like being transparent about your data practices.
Okay.
Being really upfront about your security measures. And just having a really strong commitment to ethical conduct.
Okay, so it's about walking the walk.
Exactly.
It's really interesting, right? Because like it feels like we're moving from this world of financial scarcity to like radical possibility.
Totally. But it's like the more access we unlock, the more it makes you think like, okay, how do we make sure this benefits everyone?
Right. Are we all actually getting on this train? Exactly.
It's like we could create the most amazing financial tools. But if people don't have the internet, or they don't even have like smartphones, basic financial literacy, then it's like, what's the point?
It's that digital divide thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And both of these articles actually really emphasize this point about digital inclusion.
Okay.
Like, it's not enough to just build the technology. You have to build a system that's actually accessible to everyone.
No, it's a bigger conversation than just tech.
Oh, it's way bigger.
It's like...
It's about education, infrastructure, social equity.
Oh, all these things.
It's all connected.
And it feels like that's a challenge that goes way beyond just like one company.
Oh, absolutely.
Or even one industry to solve.
This is like a global challenge.
It takes governments, businesses,
individuals.
Like everyone working together.
Everyone's got to be on board.
So where do we even begin with something like that?
Well, I think the first step is just acknowledging that.
Okay.
You know, we can't just throw technology at the problem and expect it to go away.
Right.
We have to be really intentional about building a financial system that actually works for everyone.
So it's about like a fundamental shift in how we think about financial services.
Exactly. And it's about empowering individuals.
Okay.
Giving them the knowledge and the tools to actually participate
Yeah.
in the modern economy.
So it's about access, but it's also about
Yeah, it's about empowerment, education.
Yeah.
It's about leveling the playing field.
And making sure that everyone has the opportunity to succeed.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We really have.
We started out talking about, how the pandemic.
Right, like that was the catalyst.
Yeah, like it just kind of
accelerated everything.
Set the stage for all of this.
And we saw how African fintech just exploded.
Fueled by these massive investments.
And this real desire to change the game.
Change the game completely.
Reshape how we think about financial services.
And we went from, mobile money being this lifeline.
Right.
To the radical potential of blockchain.
Yeah, who knows what's next.
And everything in between.
It's an exciting time.
It is an exciting time to be following this space.
Really is.
So as you kind of process all of this, here's a final thought-provoking question for you.
Okay.
What if access to financial services wasn't seen as a privilege, but as a fundamental human right?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How would that change how we approach building a more inclusive and equitable future?
That's something to think about.
I
like that.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
That sounds good.
Into the world of African fintech.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey.
Yeah.
We've seen how it's not just changing a continent, but
Right. It's like a glimpse into the future.
A glimpse into the future of finance itself.
I love it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.